For someone who used to be somewhat of an Apple fanboy, I was very late to the AirPods game. The first pair of AirPods I owned was the AirPods Pro, and even that was only gifted to me. Now that I've had these for over a year, it's time to reflect and give my thoughts about them. Hi everyone, welcome to another Tech Talk with Samir, where I talk about anything and everything related to technology in my life. I'm still well short of 1,000 subscribers on this channel, so it would really help me out if you can subscribe and support the channel to keep me motivated. AirPods have come a long way in terms of public perception. I remember when the first gen AirPods were announced, they became somewhat of a meme in its initial days. Combine that with the price, for many people like myself, it didn't quite feel like the best way to spend $160. And to be honest, that feeling hasn't exactly changed over time when talking about the baseline AirPods. When it comes to sound quality, the original AirPods as well as its successors, the AirPods 2, were essentially just a wireless version of Apple's wired earpods. You know, the ones that came free with your iPhone or iPod for many years. So for me, it was really hard to justify the high cost given that the only benefit I was really getting was the wireless functionality. Not to mention, Apple's earpods design never really fit well in my ears. The wired versions would always fall out of my ears and they just didn't feel very comfortable for me. So having a wireless version of that same design would likely result in me losing a earbud at some point. But despite my skepticism, AirPods went on to become a very successful product for Apple. So much so that if AirPods were its own company, it would probably be a very successful company on its own. And whether I liked the concept or not, even I had to admit that it was very disruptive for the headphones industry. Not too long after the release of the original AirPods, there was a flood of third-party cheap, truly wireless headphones in the market. Some were better than others, but they all ultimately tried to leverage the success of the AirPods to jump into the market. For me personally, some of these were cheap enough to give them a shot. Honestly, the overall sound quality of some of these may actually have been better than the original AirPods. Then again, the bar wasn't very high given that the AirPods were basically just a wireless version of the EarPods. When it came to my headphone needs, I normally just use cheap Bluetooth headphones for the most part. And for long listening sessions, I pulled out my Bose QC35 headphones. The QC35s are also great for traveling given that it has active noise cancelling to tune out engine noise on a plane or other loud vehicles. So despite the popularity of AirPods, I just didn't have a need for them to justify the hefty price tag. When the second generation AirPods came out, they didn't really improve on the design or sound quality. All they did was add the ability to have a wireless charging case, which is neat but still not worth spending a large amount of money for. It was clear that with AirPods 2, Apple just wanted a placeholder before they released a completely redesigned version. The redesign came in the form of AirPods Pro, and Apple, you finally caught my attention. Without even knowing anything about the functionality, just seeing that it had silicone ear tips is all it took for me to be intrigued. As I mentioned earlier, the original AirPods design just wasn't compatible with the shape of my ears. And without even trying, I knew the AirPods Pro would fit much better. Another big feature that caught my attention was the active noise cancelling. Like I said earlier, I use my Bose QC35s for noisy environments because of the active noise cancelling. And although I was a bit skeptical about the noise cancelling abilities for such a small pair of earbuds, after seeing reviews by others, I was pretty optimistic about it. But at $250, the price was definitely something that made me think twice about buying it. I just kept hinting to my family about how cool these AirPods were and how happy I would be to have them. Eventually, my hinting worked out as my sister surprised me by gifting me a pair with custom engraving. So moral of the story, if you really want something and don't want to pay for it, just express it really loudly in front of your friends and family, and maybe someone will take notice and get it for you. All jokes aside, I was super excited to try out the AirPods Pro. Right out of the box, you can tell that Apple listened to people like myself whose ears weren't quite compatible with their original AirPods design. They included silicone tips for different sizes so that it's customizable based on what fits best for you. After giving them all a try, for me the largest ear tips were the best fit. The AirPods Pro fits very differently in the ear compared to other earbuds I've tried. This likely has to do with the softness of the ear tips. On most other in-ear headphones, the material used for the ear tips are a lot more firm. On the AirPods Pro, they use a very thin and soft material which doesn't feel uncomfortable even after wearing them for a long time. If you don't have any sounds playing, it's sometimes easy to forget that you even have them on. On the flip side, the softer material doesn't quite grip onto the walls of your ear canal in the same way that the firmer ones do. Because of this, I often find myself having to push the earbuds into my ear every now and then. That being said, compared to the original AirPods design, it's way better. Since the ear tips are replaceable, there's a ton of third-party ear tips and some of them are made of different material which may fit better for some people. But I haven't tried anything other than the ones that came with my ones. If you're in the Apple ecosystem with an iPhone, it's very easy to pair with your phone. The moment you open up the lid for the charging case, your phone will prompt you about connecting the AirPods. A lot of Apple fanboys will hype up this feature about how cool it is, but honestly, you only need to pair your headphones one time, so it's really not something you'll come across too often. The first time I put on the AirPods Pro, I was immediately struck by the performance of the active noise cancelling. With these being in-ear style earbuds, there's already some passive noise cancelling built into the design, but when you combine it with the active noise cancelling, it's truly impressive. Now, I must say the noise cancelling on the AirPods Pro have gotten worse over time due to Apple's tweaking of the firmware updates. I'm not sure exactly what they're trying to perfect, but I do recall the noise cancelling being much better when I first got them compared to now. Hopefully a future firmware update brings it back to those levels. In any case, they're still impressive and plays a big part in my day-to-day use. Active noise cancelling works by having microphones on the outside of the headphones which it uses to listen to the surrounding noise. It then uses that noise to create an opposite waveform of sound to cancel out the noise. AirPods Pro has taken this concept to the next level by using those same microphones to allow sound to pass through rather than cancel for something they call transparency mode. Apple wasn't the first to do this. In fact, Sony and other manufacturers have had similar features on their larger headphones, but putting this feature on a pair of fully wireless earbuds takes this concept to the next level. Truly wireless earbuds like the AirPods are already very discreet. When you combine that with transparency mode, it's almost like you're not even wearing anything in your ears. This makes the AirPods Pro usable in some situations that weren't previously ideal. For example, driving. I can now wear my AirPods, put them in transparency mode, and still feel safe driving. You normally want to have good awareness of your surroundings when you're driving, and transparency mode allows that. Often when I'm driving, I like to have the GPS speak out the directions, but my wife hates that. So nowadays, I just have the GPS talking in my ears with transparency mode enabled so that I can still participate in the conversations in the car. Going back to the noise cancelling, I did get a chance to use it on a couple of flights prior to the pandemic, and I gotta say, I was quite impressed. It worked very well to cancel out the engine noise. I toggled the noise cancelling on and off to see the difference, and it definitely made a huge difference. I was a bit skeptical before getting on the plane because in regular use, the noise cancelling is not as good as my Bose headphones. But it seems like the AirPods Pro are better at cancelling airplane engine noise compared to other situations. Although I did bring along my Bose QC35s on that trip, I didn't use it at all. The AirPods Pro was good enough for every situation during my trip. This is a big deal for future trips because the size difference between the two is quite significant. The AirPods Pro fits in my pocket, whereas I would need to carry the Bose ones in a backpack. When it comes to travel, one thing on my wish list for Apple is to improve the battery life on the AirPods Pro. With noise cancelling turned on, you get around 4 hours of continuous use, which for most domestic flights might be good enough, but anything longer would require you to charge the earbuds for a bit in between. The charging case is convenient and easy to use, but if you're in the middle of watching a movie and all of a sudden you need to pause to charge your earbuds, it's not ideal. So hopefully it's something Apple can improve on down the road. Although the AirPods Pro does work with most devices that have Bluetooth, it really was designed for the Apple's ecosystem in mind. With the launch of iOS 14 last year, AirPods Pro got some cool new features added that really illustrates this. If you own multiple Apple devices, your AirPods will seamlessly switch between devices without you having to connect it manually. Additionally, they added a feature where the AirPods Pro can simulate virtual surround sound with the help of the built-in gyroscope. It's actually quite neat, although there's very few apps that support this feature at the moment. Another Apple exclusive feature that I really like is the ability to share your audio with another AirPods or Beats headphone user. This is great for those situations where you and a friend want to listen to something together without bothering others. For me, currently, I only have an iPhone, so I'm not as invested into the Apple ecosystem as many people, so I don't quite get to enjoy a lot of these perks. Like if I want to switch from my phone to my Windows laptop, I have to manually connect. But regardless, I've come a full 180 degrees when it comes to the idea of Apple's earbuds. The AirPods Pro has changed everything about how I use my headphones nowadays. Would I recommend it for everyone? If I was to only consider the device itself, then absolutely. But when you factor in the $250 price tag, it still becomes extremely difficult to recommend. When you factor in taxes, it can cost you almost $300 out of pocket. And when you put that to perspective, is it really worth half the price of an iPhone 11? Nowadays, there's a lot of great discounts on Amazon on AirPods Pro. So if you're looking for a good deal on it, check out my affiliate link in the description to see if there's any current discounts going on. Of course, Apple took the pricing to the next level with its AirPods Max, but we won't talk about that in this video. If you're not completely enclosed in the Apple ecosystem, there's also other wireless earbuds like the Sony WF-1000XM3 with very similar features that are competitively priced. I'll also link that in the description as well. Additionally, I'll link this leather case that I use on my AirPods. With so many people having AirPods, it's a good idea to put a cover or a skin on your AirPods case to spot yours from everyone else's. Also, it will protect your case from getting scratches and stuff. Overall, I've really enjoyed using the AirPods Pro for the last year. Is it perfect? Of course not. I would love for it to have better battery life and improve the noise cancelling to what it was at launch, but thanks to some of the features like noise cancelling and transparency mode, I find myself using the AirPods in situations that I normally would not have used small earbuds at. And knowing Apple's product cycle, I would expect a second generation of the AirPods at some point this year. In fact, as I'm filming this, there's an Apple event scheduled for later this week, so by the time you're watching this, there's a chance that Apple may have already announced something. I'd be really interested in seeing how Apple can improve on the AirPods Pro and whether they can address some of the things I mentioned. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button on this video as it really helps with the YouTube algorithm so that I can get discovered by others. Also, don't forget to subscribe so that you can stay tuned for my future content. As always, stay safe and I'll see you again on the next one.